All right. So I, first off,
Hang on
am
one
happy to,
second.
yeah,
Something popped up on my screen.
do what
I
you
had to
do.
confirm. I had to confirm that you were recording.
I'm recording. Uh-oh. Usually I don't ask consent. Just kidding.
Ooh,
I'm not
it's
greasy.
better. It's better to ask forgiveness.
That's
than
right. Yeah, but who do we ask for forgiveness? Ourselves, right? Like,
well, first you have to decide. You have to figure out what forgiveness is, because it's not what you're told.
right.
Forgiveness is accept. It's actually acceptance. It's accepting yourself for who and what you are. Shadow, light, all that crap. Everybody's always talking about like getting your shadow self under control. Doesn't exist. You can't, because the yin and the yang will always exist. As above, so below will always exist. It's all there. So you have to accept it.
Accept it. Yeah. See, I like to, I term it like putting my demons on a leash. I know
Yeah.
that it's in me. I know that I have the capability of doing like wicked things if I so desire, because I've done wicked shit, right? Like I have owned the shit that I've done, but it's putting that lowered natured behavior, like I could go and easily do it any given day I wake up. I could be a god or a devil. So I try to choose God, instead of the devil. But I've been recently dealing with the Christians, like in some of my videos, and not that I have anything against Christians, because I was once indoctrinated as a child with the religion of Jehovah's Witness.
That's a rough one.
It was a fun one. It was a real fun one. So like I was literally afraid to eat a birthday cake at school, like a cupcake if somebody brought it, because I was afraid that Jehovah God wasn't going to let me into the new paradise, and that the angels were watching me and they might just, do something. And I was afraid I was seeing demons everywhere. If you know what I mean, if somebody had a skull on their shirt or something, it was rough. But I don't know where I was going with all of that, except that religion is not the way to enlightenment. And when I ran across you, I was like, oh, me and this guy need to be friends, because you were talking my language.
Yeah.
And so I'm recording our conversation today just in case there's some gems that we need to get to the people. But just maybe introduce yourself in a way that my people might come to know you.
Okay.
If they don't.
I am Blind Zac, and it is okay to say that. You don't have to be politically correct. That stuff is stupid. I named myself Blind Zac based on numerology, because Blind Zac actually has a numerical value of 8. 8 is the number of money.
Abundant.
Matter of fact, the account name on my account on TikTok used to be Blind Zac Official. I couldn't get that account off the ground. The moment I changed it back to Blind Zac, it popped. The moment, like the day I changed it back, I posted a video and it got 1 million views.
Yeah, well, first off, I like your name. I think you're far from blind. I think you see more than most see in real life. I would nominate we change your name to the all-seeing eye.
Right.
Here. Like, because we don't really use these, right? That's the hardest concept, is people need to come out of that vision that these are how we see, because the truth is all within our spiritual sense. And that was something that I think attracted me to you. I was like, this guy, he's like so wise. That, aside from the Odin vibe, which I already told you, you give off like the all father. But even that was cool, because Odin was a badass that sacrificed his eye for knowledge. And not a lot of people understand that.
Yeah.
That he gave his eye to obtain knowledge, which was so fucking badass old god of him, right? Like I love him.
Yeah.
But so you obviously are on TikTok. That's where I ran across you. I thought this guy's pretty awesome. I want to talk to this guy. And I dig your knowledge and what you're doing, like with the astrology stuff. You're doing this Gospel of You deal.
Yeah.
Which I've talked about, people, if they want a cheat code to the game, they have to go to their birth chart.
Yeah. Well, I actually explained it really, really well in a video I just posted, not to brag, but it was pretty well done. Most people know the game Skyrim, and how when you start the game Skyrim, you pick a character that could either be a wood elf or a high elf or any other race. And each one is predisposed to a certain type of gameplay. So if you pick a wood elf, really good at stealth, really good at archery, not the best at two-handed weapons, because he's not built like that. So if you pick a wood elf and you try to build him like he's a warrior, you're not going to optimize that character. You should build him as a stealth archer, and that's how you're going to maximize that character. It's the same thing with your personal numerology and astrology. Those are the things you're predisposed to be good at. So as long as you know what those things are, you can invest in those skills. For me, a big one is communication. I got the sun and Mercury. I mean, the sun in Gemini and Mercury in Gemini as well. So communication is kind of everything. Once I learned that, I started learning how to communicate better. It isn't something that just happens. You actually have to study communication, because people have a tendency to let things go in one ear, not the other. So you got to learn how to make the words that you say have an impact.
Absolutely. And I'll have to check that video out of that you posted. I haven't seen it. I probably spend my least amount of time on TikTok because I feel like it catches me in there. It just sucks me in. So I'm always like, shoot, 2 hours of my life. What did I do? But I definitely am vibing with your videos, because what you're talking about is a lot of the same stuff I'm talking about. And just to circle back to the Christianity aspect, that's kind of the video I think I found you on, is where you were talking about like us all being our own Christ, but I don't exactly remember what you were talking about or how it led there. I think somebody's comment, but you
Well,
went in.
so many people tend to forget that Christ is just a title. It's not a person. It's not a name. It wasn't like their names was Joseph and Mary Christ, nothing like that. It's just a title. It's just Christos. That's it. And so
Right.
people tend to take this man who was playing a part. He was actually it's quite simple. Now that I have all the stuff that I learned from knowing the Bible cover to cover and then applying Eastern teachings to that, this dude was playing a bit and fucking with everyone. Nothing more. Like, he understood that the divine spark is within and that everyone individually is God. But that is such a loose way to put it, because humans have kind of fucked that word up. And God in and of itself isn't anything. Everybody is the universe experiencing itself through itself as itself. It exists because of itself. It has to experience it through multiple perspectives. The way I
Right.
explain perspective is when you see something, you're not actually seeing it. It is a perspective. If you are somebody that has vision, you have seen the color red. It's right behind me. You know that the color red exists. Take a person that's been blind since birth. Can they see the color red? No. Does the color red exist? Not to them. To you it does, but not to them, because it is still the universe perceiving itself in many, many, many different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. It's more or less, it's all mind. And this is a hermetic teaching, right? The universe
Mhm.
is mental. A lot of
It's
people miss.
hermetic. It's in hermetics. It's also in Gnosticism. A lot of people don't even know what Gnosticism is, and it's very important to know that stuff. Uh, it's
My
also
Yeah,
it's
my
also
favorite is Judas, the book of Judas,
yeah.
because that's talking about Jesus disassociating himself from their God, which is what kind of people like you and I are doing. We're like, our God isn't your God. Your God is like a God of ridiculousness. Like, and Jesus
Well,
was
it's
trying
like
to
this.
portray that.
I didn't come up with this, but somebody did. I forget where I saw it, but somebody said the difference. A Christian only believes in one God more than an atheist does. So
Yeah,
that in and of itself, I mean, a Christian is an atheist to every other God that exists. So what makes theirs more valid than anybody else's?
that's what I'm trying to get them to see. But I mean, it's no sweat off my balls really that I don't have, but I actually do have bigger balls than most men in the room right now. That's a kind of a flex,
Not in
Biggerton
this
balls.
room.
Well, I'm glad. That's probably why I'm here, because I appreciate talking to men who are into knowledge, because that's a huge flex these days. I feel like the masculine energy, because you know the principle of duality, the divine feminine and the masculine energy. I feel like one thing, and not to bash masculine energies, but I feel like they're coming in short, on that
Okay.
showing up,
You
waking
you
up
have
part.
opened a can of worms here, because I have
Okay.
completely dissected and at the crux figured out what is wrong with the masculine and the feminine. And it all stems back. The systems in place do not want people to reach peak potential. So in order to understand that, you understand where the divine masculine and the feminine come from. The masculine comes from the feminine. No ifs, ands, or buts. They've even traced it back in science that the first organism was female and then the male came centuries later. So female came first, male came second. But when the male came, the female gave up submission to the male. The more she submits, the more masculine he becomes. So you fast forward to the 1960s. In the 1960s, feminism was pushed. It is an opposite perversion of Christianity. Christianity is every bit as a perversion because they took the power away from women in a different way. They basically made women meaningless, and they didn't hold the spiritual value that they do in other teachings and other religions and things like that. So women felt powerless because of Christianity. Along comes feminism. Feminism offers you can compete with masculine. First of all, not possible. Testosterone exists and women cannot compete on that level. It's not possible. Been documented several times, and we're talking about the fundamentals of life here. The problem is women do not want to submit to their men no more, not in a slavery type way, because that is never the way, but more in a trusting the male to make the hard-hitting decisions. You have a lot of women that think they know better, and not necessarily that they don't, but there is a role that has to be played here. It is her job to steer and guide him. Men are the protectors of women's bodies. Women are the protectors of men's souls. But both parties have lost their fucking way, both of them, because the more masculine the feminine becomes, the more the actual masculine is driven away like a beaten dog.
Yeah, and I think that's natural course part, like the nature, right? Because it's like nature always tries to right itself. So the more masculine energy rises over here, be it in a feminine vessel or not, the more feminine energy is going to rise over here, being in a masculine. And I think now this is my thing with the feminist movement. I think it was like an op that was
It
pushed
was
out
definitely
by the fucking tyrants to destroy the family unit
mm-hmm.
because moms, you look at the decay that one act has caused over these last few generations. Like moms are now outside of the home where they used to pride themselves on being in the home with their children, cooking them good meals, nurturing them, giving hugs, kissing the boo-boos, filling them with that love. And now the state has stole the mother, the matriarch, she's really the core of the family for the man and the children. And they took that piece out and put it out there. And so what people don't realize is that everything revolves around the feminine. Like we are the creators here. We're Mother Universe that has a portal to life from the other realm. And now it's all fucked.
People also tend to forget that there is a divine order to the fact that masculine is supposed to be order and logic and reason, and feminine is supposed to be emotional and chaos. That is what it is in and of itself. And the two must always dance together. And so you have a lot of men acting irrational and illogical, a lot of women trying to be logical, but it doesn't tend to work because both of these things have to go together. It's literally designed to go together, if you know what I'm saying. So that's why the Ankh is so important. It's a symbol of the masculine and the feminine joining to create life. That's why I have a problem with the actual Christian cross. It's all masculine. There is a problem there. You cannot have life out of all masculine, just like you can't have life out of all feminine.
Exactly. Yeah. And so but to circle back and say that it isn't the men that I was trying to bash, but I personally don't run across very many men right now who are doing like the spiritual work. They feel like they're paying the bills and they're like, I'm going to the gym and I'm getting buff. And it's like, okay, but what are you doing on a soul level to wake?
It's been feminized.
Yeah. How do we
that's
help
part
them?
Of that. That's where I come in. In lack of a better way of putting it, I've been told several times that I'm the first person to make numerology and astrology not gay, not bashing anything like that. But there is a feminine type stereotype on numerology and astrology when back in ancient times, in ancient Babylon, in ancient Egypt, in ancient Greece, both men and women did it. It was a common thing you did. Everyone did it. So, but now where do you find horoscopes? Where do you find astrology stuff? Right next to Cosmo. What man who doesn't want to be seen as feminine is going to actually look at that stuff? It's got to be explained to them in a way that working class men can understand. Somebody has to communicate it and let them know that, no, you should know this stuff because this is how you optimize. JP Morgan said that millionaires don't study astrology, but billionaires do. All of this stuff usually starts here.
Yeah. And that's why the Bible is trying to steer Christians away from the stars, astrology, tarot. As a tarot reader, I always get they're like, you shouldn't be doing that, rebuke you catching demons, you're a witch, all this weird shit. And I'm just like, okay, there's a reason why they don't want you doing stuff, guys. There's a reason
Yeah.
why they don't want you to figure out what the fuck's going on and to know that this kind of ability lies within us. Like, how do you deal? I'm sure you get your fair share of people coming at you with that same
I do what
thing.
Jesus did in the story. I use their Bible against them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that simple. You just take what they think they know. See, if you take just this concept, the Bible contradicts itself at every turnaround. But if you take just Matthew, Mark, and Luke, all three of them give completely different recollections of what happens when everybody goes to Jesus's tomb. One says that the angel was already rolled away the stone and sitting on the stone. The next one says that the angel came out of the tomb and pushed the stone away. And the third one says that the angel flew down from heavens and caused an earthquake and opened. No three line up whatsoever. They sow confusion, but that was King James's whole thing. He needed a form of control, but that was also Constantine's thing when he formed this. It was for control. Everybody was going Christian anyway. The movement was spreading. It was this whole new hip thing that was just cool to do. So we needed to keep everybody under control. So he all wraps it up into one book. Then King James comes along and he's like, well, we don't need this, 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 and this. And he butchers it and then puts out an abridged version. The teachings in the Bible are very, very important, but they're also allegorical. I mean, for example, one of the ones I like to use is the story of Jacob's ladder. Jacob wrestled with God. He got a new name. The new name was Israel. But what happens at the end of that story? He gets up and he builds an altar and he names that place. He names it pineal, for that is where he saw God. This is just an allegory for your pineal gland.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's funny because I was referencing this recently with a group of people, but it is all about that internal awakening. And it's instructing us how to awaken within, but it's being sold to us literally. And so they're always looking, like, I refer to it as the external savior program, right?
Yeah.
It's like we've been taught that there's somebody coming to save us, and so we spend our whole life looking outside of ourselves for that savior. And the true power comes when we look internally and find out that the savior's in us all along. And so because this is like all one, the law of one, right? So we're all one, but we're just fractals of one, and we've all forgot. There's a Rick and Morty episode that I fucking love because I feel like it's like, are you a fan of Rick and Morty?
Yeah. I have a
Okay,
tattoo of Pickle Rick.
Oh, I have a shirt of Pickle Rick. I think we're best friends now.
Right.
We need to find a garage to do karate in, my dude.
Dude, I know, right? I'm gonna show you my katana with Randy Jackson's autograph.
I got a drum set you can put your balls on. Just kidding. But all shit aside, there's this one in the most recent season of Rick and Morty where Morty gets trapped in the video game Roy, and Rick has to go in and he's trying to explain to all of the pieces that got fractured. He's like, hey, we're all the 14-year-old Morty. We all have to come together. And then we figure out how to become whole again. And they were just like, he formed a cult or whatever. You familiar with this episode?
Yeah,
So that's
no,
kind of what
I haven't seen the latest season only because I've been so busy with all of this and everything I've been doing. I just don't watch TV no more. I don't even watch TikTok no more. I have time to make the content and that's about it.
Well, yeah, that's how it is sometimes. And
Yeah.
if it wasn't for it being like me and my teenage son's thing, that
Mhm.
show, I probably wouldn't watch it as much as I do, but it's kind
Oh
of
no,
like,
no. I don't get me wrong. I'm just gonna wait until it's all out and then I'll binge it all in one night when I don't got nothing to do with a couple of beers.
that's the best thing to do, honestly. Then you don't have to wait. That's the shitty thing. I don't like waiting. But you have to check this out, this one where he gets lost in Roy, and then you'll know what I'm saying. But that's exactly what it all is we are programmed to divide and conquer. And Rome did this, right? And they still do it. The divide and conquer is nothing new. And this is what they do with all these belief systems, like religion and, even down to sports. People fight over fucking sports, which is the game and circus of Rome. And then they like get all bad about it, like my fucking team, my quarterback. And it's like, what fucking in the hell? So anything that they can to divide us and separate us, color, whatever, and it is So when we all remember that we are all the one energy, I think we're going to get somewhere in the game. I don't know.
But it has to be balanced out. See, the problem is people don't know how to conceptualize the idea of it is and it isn't. So it's all one, but at the same time, it's hyper individual. And everybody forgets that part. You have to marry those two ideas. It is all one and hyper individual at the same exact time. Everybody individually is God, while all together we are God as well.
Right. So how do you see the next 5 years in your vision of, because you're into astrology, so you're aware we're in the age of Aquarius now,
We're not
right?
in it. We're not in it. We
We're
won't be
moving
fully
in it,
Yeah, we still got like 400 years left, 400 or 500 years before we're
moving
actually
into
in
the
it.
age.
Yeah. So people like us, people like me, people like you, there's a bunch of other people who are spreading the same message. It's our job to break the ground so that the seeds can be planted, so that they can reap the harvest further down the line. But unless we do our job and break the ground, it can't even go into the age of enlightenment.
So you do feel like we have come in here. I don't know. What is your perspective on like
It's the
star
second.
people, star seeds?
Nah. Star seeds is actually a Nazi concept, so I refuse to subscribe to it. The idea of star seeds actually started with the Nazis. So no, my idea is more along this. Everybody is God, experiencing God through itself, all that kind of stuff. So you add that concept on top of everything has always happened according to its age. So everybody knows the story of Moses coming down and seeing the people worshiping a golden calf. That was reason he got pissed off was because they were going from the age of Taurus into the age of Aries, because the cosmic zodiac rotates counterclockwise. So before that, we was in the age of Gemini. That was the age of creation. Then we went into the age of Taurus, and then that transferred from the age of Taurus to the age of Aries. Now everything after the golden calf is just all war. Like you got First and Second Kings, First and Second Chronicles. Like all these are just war. It's just massive amounts of bloodshed and killing. And then we went from the age of Aries into the age of Pisces. That's been the last 2,000 years. When Jesus was born, that was the beginning of the age of Pisces. That's why the fish is always representative of Christianity. Pisces is the age of religion. That's what we've been locked in. So now we're going into the age of enlightenment, debt forgiveness, humanitarianism, all that kind of shit. Basically, though, like layman's terms of Aquarius is just don't give a fuck. Like that's the personality trait of an Aquarius is no fucks given. That's what enlightenment is. And true enlightenment is when you can just have your mind in a state of the leaf on the wind is what I call it, because you have to be married to no ideas and believe it all at the exact same time.
Yeah, I like that. I definitely think that that's accurate with the Aquarius analysis. They're very rebellious kind of energy.
Mm-hmm. Problem is, a lot of people base this kind of stuff out of emotion, what feels good and what doesn't feel good and things like that. It's very important for the masculine to any kind of man. I know that a lot of times people say it's okay to express your emotions and stuff like that. Not as a man. You don't want to see a dude acting out of anger because that's stupid and people get hurt and things like that. But also it all has to fucking go in. I actually lost my train of thought. I smoke way too much weed. I'm sorry.
You're fine. You just
I'm
do you,
high as
man.
shit.
Hey,
Anyway,
just do you. There's no
yeah,
pressure. We're just talking. We're just being cool.
yeah.
But
I forgot where I was going with that, honestly.
well, I think where we got here, because I do this shit all the time. I circle around and fucking squirrel this way, that way. So
They call
please
it
do not.
ADHD. I call it being a Gemini.
And I just call it just fucking split, man. I just go. I just get something that'll come in and I'll just run with that thought. And then I'll be like, okay, wait, circle back. So you're just doing what we do as humans, I think. But we were talking about the masculine originally, which I think led us down this this conversation has just flowed into this path. But we were talking about feeling as if the masculines just aren't doing the awakening, I guess, or understanding. I
Yeah,
think they're so
I think
materially
people are
focused.
feeling it. So I can say based on the gospel of you selves, there's obviously a lot of women are interested in it. Women tend to gravitate towards it more because it is a spiritual type thing, and women are spiritual creatures when men are physical creatures. but there has been a serious uptick in men purchasing the gospel of you from me. And I'm noticing that a lot of them are born in the 80s. So we're talking like age 30s to 40s type age. A lot of these men are actually getting into it. And that gives me hope for the future. A lot of people are like just looking around and going, well, I've been trying it this way for so long, it's not working. What's this other way? And then some one-eyed blonde-haired dude comes along and says, hey, have you ever looked at the stars? And they're like, well, shit, I'll try that.
Yeah. About try anything at this fucking point.
Yeah.
Jeez, you're getting
Yeah.
pretty desperate. But I
Yeah.
think the
People don't realize that
desperation,
manifesting is real.
yeah. And it's the desperation and the suffering is a huge component to it. The alchemy of it, the
Mhm.
pain, the going down and then raising it back up. So
Mhm.
you have to be able to address that pain and want it. And a lot of people run from it, right? That's
Mhm.
like the fight or flight. They're like, ooh, this hurts. This is uncomfortable. I don't
It's
want to dive into this.
it's funny that you say, because you know when you're in this kind of state of mind and stuff, yeah, you recognize science. It's funny that you said alchemy. I have heard that word alchemy 3 times today. Today, you're the third person to say that I've heard say the word alchemy. I don't know what that means, but that's interesting. And 3 is the number of communication.
Well, alchemy is in
I
tarot,
know what
it's the
alchemy
magician.
means. I just
Yeah,
don't know the reason why I heard it 3 times today. That's interesting because Gemini is
because we're
also called
creating.
Gemini is considered the alchemist in the zodiac. That's interesting. Huh.
Yeah,
I'll ponder on that later.
that is interesting. Well, third time's a charm. So I'm trying to decipher what that means for you just by default, because that's what I
I don't know.
do.
I'll tell
But
you this, just to add a little interesting thing to it. Last night I started reading the Greater and Lesser Keys of Solomon. So there's alchemy in there.
oh, you're kidding me, because I just got that. It's in the mail to me. The Lesser Keys of Solomon. I shit you not. I'm going to tell you its arrival time is going to be here today. Let me
What
see.
about the
I just
Greater
got that
Keys?
notification. Well, I'm just going to dive into the lesser keys,
It's not
but
all right. All right.
yeah,
All right. No, you have to start with the Greater Keys. It
I
doesn't
have
mean
to start with
greater
the
and
greater.
lesser. Yeah, it doesn't mean like in the way we speak in the English language. It doesn't mean lesser in the way like there's less of it. It greater means the one before, lesser means the one after.
Yeah,
You
I just
actually
got the I
you
just
have
got
to
the
start
book.
with greater. It's not going to make sense otherwise. I promise you, the lesser keys will not make any kind of sense.
Okay. Well, damn it. Guess I have to go back
I
to the
made the same.
fucking
Hey,
part.
I made the same exact mistake actually.
So now then you had to go back and get the greater keys.
Hmm.
See? I just was like, I don't
But
want to
see, that's
overwhelm
also
myself, so I'm
that
just
could
gonna start.
that's a good segue into this thing, and this is why I tell people quit reading the Bible. Like, stop. It's got good messages in there, but the problem is it's written in Old English. Most people can't understand Old English. Old English is not a language you read; it's a language you read around. One of the common examples that I like to use is Shakespeare. Everybody knows the line, "Wherefore art thou, O Romeo?" Most people take that as, "Where are you, Romeo?" That doesn't make sense. She's literally talking to him out the window. She knows where the fuck he's at. So, "Wherefore art thou, O Romeo?" means, "Why are you a Montague?" That's all it means. It means, why are you part of the family that you're a part of? Because I can't be with you. But that's not what it sounds like. Same thing with the Bible. It's Old English. It was actually written by Sir Francis Bacon, aka William Shakespeare. He's one of the people that worked on the translation of it. So it's Old English. People don't understand it, but they're trying to read it on the surface level and don't even get the meanings.
Yeah, which is amazing to me because everybody back then seems so much more primitive in mind, you know?
Mhm.
And
That's
the
because
way
they
that
are.
they explain things so complex, it's almost like that's why they wanted to pitch it like that, so that the Pharisees, people would have to go for the interpretation for the intercessor to make sense of this great holy teaching, because I don't think the common sheep farmer or herder or whatever was going to be able to read and dissect that. But
Well, the problem is actually is it's really quite simple. If you take some of the things Jesus was saying, what you have an example of is somebody saying something like in modern time. I'll say something sometimes and people will be like, "Whoa, that was deep." And Jesus did the same shit. One of his most famous stories is it's a parable. He said there once was a farmer who threw seeds to the thistles and seeds to the rocks and seeds to fertile ground. And when he came back, the only one that had any fruit was the one on the fertile ground. That's kind of common sense, but the way he worded it, people were like,
yeah,
"Whoa!"
Profound. Yeah.
It's so simple. I have heard whole ass preachers, like whole ass messages preached for like 2 hours on one parable, and it's like y'all just beat that into the ground for nothing, and you couldn't
And
even
they're
see the
teaching
forest for
it
the trees.
wrong. Yeah, and they're
Mhm.
teaching it in a complete wrong context. Yeah, that's what's amazing is that the literal, they can't let go of like the literal thing, but I think it's about vibration, honestly,
Mhm.
because they're in a
It is.
different bandwidth and frequency. So like you and I, we're kind of on the same wavelength, right? So what you're saying can resonate with me because I'm here on
Mhm.
this level of vibration to comprehend this. But those people that are down here are trapped in that lower vibration. It's like hearing white noise when you're changing the radio station. It just, you can't make no sense of it. There's maybe a few words coming through that you can hear, and you're kind of picking what they're saying, but the majority of the song or whatever's coming through, it's just like completely missed.
Yeah.
So you're also understanding that everything is vibration, frequency,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
so what
It's
do
all
you
about vibes.
what it is. So what do you advise your people that follow you? What do you tell them about their vibration?
Be
What's
authentic.
your
Be authentic. It's already been proven by science
truth?
that all of the everything's been measured. All the frequencies are like they've been measured, so the results are in. This Sorry about that.
You're fine.
All right, so the results are in, and they've measured all the frequencies. The strongest possible vibration that you can put off, the strongest one, people want to think it's love or maybe even anger as far as power. No, the strongest vibration you can put off is authenticity. That is it. If you are saying something, you're passionate about it, and you believe what you're saying, people are going to feel that. Authenticity is the strongest vibe. That's why you don't tell lies. Telling a lie isn't authentic, and you want to be authentic so that people get, hey, this guy's being real. So when you're being real with people, people will be real with you.
Yep. I mean, that's confirmation for me. So when my folks, watch this, I tell them that all the time. I call people out there Pinocchio motherfuckers because I'm
Mhm.
so sick of the Pinocchio motherfuckers. They want to go and pretend and lie and do all of this shadowy kind of hidden shit with a false mask. It's like you are taking away from all of your power by
Mhm.
being a fraudulent motherfucker. Excuse my, I cuss like a sailor. I'm going to tell
Me
you, Zach.
too.
I'm
Me
so
too.
fucking awful. Expletive, 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 expletive. It's like every other word with me. But
I'm
I
the same
can't
exact
help
way.
it. It's just who I am. I'm authentic. I can't filter myself. It's weird. But that is such confirmation for my people because if they didn't get that from me, now that's confirmation for them. Like there is so much power in just being who you are
Mhm.
unapologetically.
Mhm. That's like I tell people all the time. I'm just some fucking redneck in South Carolina, ginger, freaking. I got jacked up teeth because I got my wisdom teeth came in. I got crooked eyeballs, so I wear the one patch because that eye kind of goes over there and does its own thing. And I don't give a shit. Like, why should you give a shit? Everybody's so concerned what other people are thinking about them, while at the same time not realizing that everybody is having the same exact thought. So everybody is so concerned with what everybody else is thinking that they don't even realize that nobody gives a shit about you. Like you're only special to you in your reality, in your world, you are God. To everybody else, you don't exist. There is a peace in that. Like you can just quit giving a shit. You can literally go anywhere and just start dancing. Why wouldn't you? Like, why wouldn't you just
I
start
do.
dancing in the middle of a crowd?
I
That's why
do.
Jesus was so big on being like a child. He said things like you would have to be able to strip down naked in front of everyone. That doesn't mean take your clothes off. I mean, unless you felt like you should. But fucking
I
like
mean, we should be able to, because
you know what I'm
nakedness
saying?
is
It's just one of
natural,
those
but
things
yeah.
where you should, like you said, you should be yourself. If you feel the urge to just start dancing to the song that's playing in the store, fucking do it. You're so worried about what everybody else is thinking without realizing that they're looking at you like, man, I wish I could do that.
Hmm.
You can. Anybody
Absolutely.
can. You can be whatever and whoever you want to be. You could wake up tomorrow and decide, you know what? I want to be something different. I decided that now I'm just going to be a badass, or I'm going to be a rock star, or I'm going to be like, you can be whatever character you choose to be. It's all about what character you want to be. So some of us have chosen the Jesus character. Why would you want to be the Jesus character? To get people to realize that you can be whatever character you want. The Neo
Yeah.
character, the Jesus character, the Harry Potter character, it's all the same character.
Yeah. And we're all that
Can
if we
be.
so choose.
Or
Or we could choose to be an evil character,
you can
which,
be Neo, you can be Morbius, you can be the Oracle, you can be Agent Smith, you can be anything you choose. Like you don't there's no you have to be any certain thing. Like you can literally be anything. It's why I say that Catholic priests do the absolutely most abhorrent things that they do, because they know that there's no consequences. There's no hell waiting for them. That's literally that comes from Dante's Inferno, and then it was used by priests and then later preachers to just get the fear tactic going. Scare people into being scared of hell so you can keep people in line. The only way to keep people doing what you want them to do is to keep them scared. Fear keeps everybody like sheep. But not knowing that the original Bible, when it said hell, it was just referencing the grave, being dead, just dying, nothing more, nothing less. The wailing and gnashing of teeth is just people mourning at your fucking funeral. That's all.
yeah. Well, recently, let's see, it was about a week ago now, I was told I wasn't getting into heaven. And I'm like, well, heaven is within me. So I guess I live in heaven because I have a higher consciousness of thought and I see things from within. But
That's
I
why the
haven't
Book of
heard
Thomas is so important. That's it. Like
the
if anybody
Gnostic
was to read anything, it should
gospel.
only be the Book of Thomas. If you had one book to read as your Bible, the Book of Thomas is it. Like it's just words from Jesus, and it just says, "Be a nice person."
Yeah,
That's it.
it. It's not hard,
Be good
right?
to people. Be good to people. Everybody's so quick to get amped and try to fight and all this stuff. It's like, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to hurt another human being? Animals already kill each other all the time out in the real, like out in the freaking animal kingdom. So, like, ain't we supposed to be better than that?
Yeah, and the natural law that the one natural law, if you know anything about natural laws, is just do no harm.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's not difficult
Yeah,
to
unless
abide
you're
by.
saving yourself or your loved ones from an actual attacker, like you should never choose to do harm to someone unless there is like a life or death situation.
And that is the only stipulation in natural law too, is if you were violated, if
Mm-hmm.
you're protecting yourself. So all of these rules and mandates and fucking shit that these tyrants are coming down and everybody's like, oh, we have to obey. We just have to obey. That's law. That's the mandate. It's like, no, actually, we only have one governing law, and that's to do no harm. And they're doing harm and you're
Mm-hmm.
following in line with it. So therefore, does that make you good or evil to be a law-abiding order follower fucking scum? You know?
It's all
So
your perspective.
yeah, that's what I mean. It's like, so there's so many people who are unaware of the power that they give these, I call them programs, because without that belief in it, it wouldn't even exist, you know,
Right.
without these people supporting fascism, fascism couldn't reign.
Exactly. But I hate that I have to end this thing, but
No, yeah,
my phone is about
absolutely.
to die and I don't want it to go out without me saying anything or something like that. I'm on 1%. I just got the notification. So you want to do this again?
Yeah, let's do it
All
again.
right.
This is like a rough, just on the fly convo. So we'll just post this if you don't mind. It's rough
Go
around
ahead.
the edges, but
Go ahead.
and then we could do it again. I'm sure.
Yeah. I'll be more prepared next time for sure.
Yeah, maybe even go live on TikTok or something. I never do that,
Absolutely.
but I'd like to have an intelligent person to talk to because those people that just join, I can't
Yeah.
with those people. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Anyway, all
All
right.
right.
Thank you.
You have a good one.
All right, Zach. You
All right.
too.